Why hello there, my name is Mountain, and today I'd like to talk to you about this. And what is this, you might ask? Well, this, my friends, is the Evergoods Panel Loader Classic 20, also known as the PLC20. Now, as the name suggests, this is a classically style, by which I mean it's very straightforward and simple, not too much muss and fuss about this bag. Panel loading, by which I mean this front area comes down, but not quite as far as a clamshell style bag. 20-liter bag intended for normal EDC type backpack things, and it's made by Evergoods. That's their logo right here. The Bozeman, Montana based manufacturer of some of my very favorite bags in the carry game these days. Now, its main claim to fame is that it is in fact a small, straightforward, and simply styled bag made from excellent materials and executed with the typically high levels of Evergood refinement. It's simple to use due to this very straightforward compartment. There's only two really big compartments. There's the main one, and then there's this front one here. I'll show you those in a moment. And it also has just enough internal organization. That's what I'm going to show you here, and then a little top pocket up here that lets it be useful and competitive with modern carry expectations. Now, conversely, there's a couple of parts of the bag that I thought could be improved, both of those kind of center on the interior organization. So the inner lid zip mesh pockets, these right here, are a little bit tighter, fussier, and less useful than I think they really should be. And they're a deviation from the otherwise simple and easy to use execution of this bag. And on top of that, the interior main tablet pocket, which I should have just kept this open and shown you, that's this one right here, is also a little bit tight and less useful than I think it should be, which makes it kind of limiting. Now, this bag is available in any color that you like, as long as that color is black, and that retails for $179 on the Evergoods website. So with that out of the way, let's talk about who this bag is for and who it's not for. So I think at 20 liters and kind of like this very simple styled kind of design, it's going to be great for folks with small urban EDC loadouts, but still need to carry things like laptops and occasionally something semi-bulky like a light jacket or a few groceries on the way home or whatever. You don't want to carry a big, decked out heavy backpack. Similarly, smaller framed folks, because again, this is only 20 liters, right? Who want a capable EDC bag, or just people who don't always want to schlep around a giant 25, 28 liter EDC bag on a daily basis, I think this is going to be a pretty good bag for you as well. And the thing is, even though it is 20 liters, it still actually works pretty well, I would say, on the side, on the back of like an average sized, adult male. And finally, folks who love Air, the Air SF, the carry brand, I've reviewed some of their bags on the channel before. People who love Air and its look, this ballistic nylon in particular, but want a slightly different take on the genre that Air, to be honest, does really well in as well. This might be a really good alternative to consider. Now, I don't think it's for people who like to carry the kitchen sink. This is only 20 liters, so you're not going to be able to fit a ton of stuff inside of it. I mean, plenty good for like normal EDC loads, but people who want a ton of organization, as a simple bag, there's only a couple of main pockets. If you want a place for everything, this probably isn't going to be the right bag for you. And finally, unlike a lot of Evergoods bags, this is not a crossover style bag. Even things like their Civic Panel Loader 24 usually has like a port for hydration, and it can kind of, it has a little bit of outdoorsy elements. This one is very squarely an EDC style bag, so it's not going to be a good crossover outdoorsy bag for you. So now let's talk about the exterior design, structure, and materials. Starting with the materials, and that's probably the most notable thing about this bag if you're a fan of Evergoods. Now, this is 1680D ballistic nylon, and that's a very different material than what Evergoods usually uses, which is some sort of 420D high tenacity nylon with like a PU coating, etc. That's, I think, what they use in almost all, if not all, of their other bags here. Now, this bag and this 1680D ballistic nylon, super great material. It's very common. You see it in a lot of other bags, especially Air, which I previously called out. And when you see all of this like very simple style urban EDC bag, immediately that's kind of what I thought of. I was like, oh, it's Air. It looks like Air, but it's got a little bit of a twist to it. Now, it has all the normal pros and cons that you get with this material. It's durable, easy to clean, resists abrasion. I've been using this one for a couple of months at least, maybe more, I don't remember. But it looks great, and whatever you see in other bags in this material is what you're going to see in this one. Maybe one of the downsides is like after some time it can start to get a little bit fuzzy. I haven't had that problem here yet. The back panel is a little bit different. I'll talk about that here. And then, it can sometimes get a little bit shiny if it continues to rub or wear over time. That's just the nature of this fabric. But overall, it's a really interesting, different material for Evergoods. I mentioned this bag looks like air, and yet at the same time, you can also see it has that distinctly like Evergoods style aesthetic to it, like from the curve of the shoulder straps, definitely to the back panel material here. You know, some of the distinctive ways in which they do like the carry loops at the top here, and just overall very like zippers, all of these things, zipper lines, etc., all very like Evergoodsy. And speaking of that, if we look at the structure of the bag, you can see there's like gentle curves. There's like some curvature here at the bottom, like curve here. The bottom profile is also curved. If you look at the side of the bag, it has almost like a little bit of, if you see the side panel here, it kind of has like a little bit of a narrow waist and then expands back out. I think you also saw a little bit of that curvature inside of the CHZ line, the Civic half zip line. Got curves up here, curves up here. Anyway, it's a kind of a nice little squirkly bag, but it doesn't like look overly rounded in a way that you're like, oh, that's the overwhelming impression of this bag. Just some gentle curving throughout this bag, which I thought is nice. I already talked about all the great classic Evergoods stuff you've come to expect. Really solid, simple zipper zips, good, easy, like very nice zippers, solid handle with like a little bit of, you know, built-in support in there, the little Evergoods loop where you can hook the a carabiner or whatever, and then this great back panel mesh that I'll talk about in a little bit here. And the other thing that I would say you would notice about this bag is going to be like the big Kangaroo style dump pocket in the front here. That's one of the two main compartments on this bag here. It's like an evolution, and I would say an improvement over the kind of like duckbill profile that you saw in the Civic half zip series, especially the Civic half zip 26, I was gonna say. And it also kind of borrows some inspiration from the Mountain Panel Loader 30, the MPL30 line. I like its 3D patterning. Like again, you got just sort of interesting dimensions here. This bag is fully loaded up is loaded up how I usually carry. I wouldn't say it's fully loaded up. You can certainly put more stuff in it. And you can see you do have a little bit of like, you know, a little bit of a bill here, but not like, it's not like ugly like the CHZ line where it was like, wah, wah. And again, you know, you've got the dump pocket, but it's not distinctly like a huge Kangaroo outdoorsy style pocket like on the MPL line. So just a really interesting approach to this front pocket that I liked. And I think borrows and evolves upon the aesthetic that they piloted in some of their other bags. And sometimes you can get this bag to stand up on its own. It's not gonna do it right now. Oh, it did do it right now. So, well, I don't know what I'm talking about. This bag will sometimes stand up on its own, depending on how you load it out. It won't always do this, depends on what you've got inside of it. This one, you can see it's sort of leaning a little bit. It won't always flop down, you know, like some bags will always be like on one side or another. It's not that. It will definitely fall down depending on how you load it out. So see here now it's gonna do that. But what I found is it does really well, like if you've got it kind of, you know, it's almost standing up, but if you lean it against the surface, it'll stay up. So like at a cafe chair or something, or a chair at a cafe or something like that, you lean it right next to you, it'll kind of stay up really well. It won't slide down like this. So overall, I think a pretty good combination of some other, an evolution of other features we've seen with some pretty useful, like kind of everyday style kind of like affordances. So next, let's talk about the load carriage on this bag. The first thing you're gonna notice is its simple but effective design, right? No crazy, you know, like load lifters or crazy hip belts or anything like that. This is just a very simple, you know, shoulder straps and back panel. Now, the other thing you might notice if you're a fan of Evergoods bags is traditionally, like Evergoods bags, or maybe, I don't know, traditionally is the right word, but very often they'll have like a kind of Y shape. There'll be like a yoke space here. I don't know, it's kind of like this. And then it's a little bit more ergonomic and it's designed to be worn really high and tight over your back and kind of curves over your trapezoids or whatever. That's gone here. This wears much more like a regular pack rather than super high and tight, but I wouldn't say it's like floppy. It's not kind of like super droop, but it's like, it's more of a, it's a classically designed EDC style panel loading bag. Now the next thing you're going to notice is this awesome back air mesh material. It's not actually air mesh, this back mesh material. I think they call it like their 3D mesh or something like that. I actually forgot the exact term that they use. I love this. This was first introduced in the Mountain Hip Pack 3.5 and then later extended throughout most, if not all, of their lineup. This is probably my favorite back panel material out of any bag that I've used possibly to date. It's smooth and breathable without like the fuss of air mesh. It's not gonna pill or tear up your clothing. Like there aren't, and granted, there aren't any like fancy air channels here, which is something that could maybe improve the airflow a little bit. But like you do have these diagonal lines through there, which maybe lets a little bit in, but I find this still just be really, really comfortable. Like it's, like your back will still get a little sweaty no matter what back manufacturers do, but like overall it's really nice, smooth, and like it feels artificial, but it feels good to me. It doesn't feel cheap. Like a really nice artificialness here. Anyway, this again, I really like this material. The frame sheet itself is fairly flexible, but not super flexible, pardon me, and it's not overly stiff as well. I think it's great for a bag of this size. Now, if we look at the shoulder straps, they're simple and curved, but like fairly aggressively, but they wear really nicely. So I think this is where you see like Evergoods, there's like expertise in just really like kind of fitting ergonomic and creating ergonomically suitable load carriage systems here. They're decently firmly padded. You can see like they're not super squishy. There's no like hard layer on here to kind of, sometimes you'll see on some bags that have a hard plastic layer to help distribute the weight. There isn't that. It's just very simple but firm mesh firm foam with this nice same 3D mesh on the back. And it just works really well for the kind of loads you're going to be carrying in a 20-liter bag of this size. Comes with a sternum strap, which I like, adjustable. If there's one minor comment I'll make is like I had to put this one all the way to the very bottom here, just to get it to kind of cross at the appropriate location on my body. Maybe it's just because this is an overall smaller bag. So that, you know, still I think it should fit most people pretty well. A very straightforward, standard Evergoods sternum strap, no elasticity on it, but that's okay for a bag this size. And then one thing I noticed is it was actually quite difficult to take these out and move them compared to some of the previous iterations of this that you saw, like for example, some of the V1 or V2 versions of Evergoods bags. But like, I like it because, you know, you're never gonna lose it, which is something that I almost had one work its way out. Like I think on the CPL24 V1, I almost lost it somewhere in the subway or whatever because it just worked its way out. These are gonna stay in place, so very, very good. Looking at the rest of the shoulder straps, there's no strap keepers, nothing fancy going on here, just a simple strap with a loop in there to run your fingers, your thumb through and pull it tight. That's all you really need on here. I do wish there was maybe an elastic keeper here. I mean, I guess you could add one after the fact, but the overall straps are fairly loose. This is actually usually where I have them, so they don't, or sorry, fairly small, so I don't have too much excess dangle, which I thought was probably acceptable for a bag of this size here. I don't really think there's too much else to say about the back panel on this bag. About the load carry system on this bag. The only other maybe minor thing to mention is like there's this top handle, traditional top handle that you find on all Evergoods bags. It's got a little bit of like a plastic part inside for a little bit of stiffness, bar stitching here, and then an extra loop here and one here, which you usually find on the Evergoods bags. I think kind of the thing to do that I certainly do is run like a hero clip or other kind of carabiner through there or whatever if you want to like hang up or have the bag hang or something like that. But I actually found that this was, again, such a small bag, and I found that this handle was positioned far enough back that you can like still hang it like on the back of like an airport bathroom stall or something like that. You will get a little bit of a cant if you pick up the bag by this, but like it's a small bag. It's not going to be that loaded out. I found this was perfectly fine for manipulating the bag or moving it from place to place. So next, let's talk about the quick access pocket at the top of this bag. That's going to be this single one-way zipper here at the top. Now, as I mentioned, unlike most other Evergoods bags, there's no like, you know, V-shaped or Y-shaped yoke at the back, which is usually where they put the quick access pocket. So on this one, it's actually right at the top here, and that means that it's going to shift from the traditional kind of like vertically oriented or maybe V-shaped oriented one to like a kind of tray style one that kind of sits horizontally at the top here. Despite that, it still has all the goodness that we've come to expect from most Evergoods bags when it comes to like the yoke style pockets here. So let me start by showing you what I have inside of there. I have just an iPhone 12 Pro. I have my keys on a key leash. Put that off to the side there. I've got some chapstick and I've got some hand sanitizer. And then flipping this around, now you're looking at the top of the bag, you can see the quick access pocket opens up fairly really well to reveal like this broad, shallow, horizontally oriented tray, contrast lined interior here, and then a bright red key leash in here. Evergoods usually puts the key leash inside of the quick access pocket. I have mixed feelings about it. Here, I kind of wish it were located somewhere else. I'll talk about that. It's actually inside the Kangaroo pocket is where I wish they had it. And the reason why is I found that this pocket was a little bit more shallow. I mean, it isn't actually that shallow, to be honest. Like, it's just a tray style pocket. So when I would put my phone in there, I would worry about my keys scratching the phone. And because of just how it sort of sits there, you have to be really careful. They either lay it like the screen face up or like your keys are off this, I don't know. For me, I just felt like that was I understand why they put it up there. It's not a lot of first order access places they could have put the key leash. I just found I mind a little bit more on the horizontal style one on this one than in other bags here. So overall, like I find that this is a pretty good size for like getting most of the things that you want inside of there. And obviously the location makes it easy to access at the top. And that's also true like if you've got the bag over your shoulder. I usually flip it around to the front like this, and then I can just get right inside the top here. And that's kind of nice because this is like this tray style, so it kind of opens up and you can see everything there. So next, let's talk about the Kangaroo front pocket, which is probably the most distinctive feature of this bag. Now this pocket is unabashedly a big dump style pocket, and you can see it goes down to right around here, this curved bottom seam line. So not all the way to the bottom here. It's big, simple, incredibly easy to use, opens up really nice and wide, and it's like a great first order access dump pocket. Now you do get, as I mentioned, a slight amount of duckbill, which is kind of what you saw with the CHZ, the cheesy 22, 26 line of bags here, but it's not nearly as awkward or unpleasant as in those bags. Single, very easy to operate zipper for access, curved across the top. You can see one-handed access, super easy. And it's also really, easy when you've got the bag slung over your shoulder. You can operate it with one hand, even like this, which at first I was kind of like, oh, I expect this to bind a little bit because there tends to be a little bit of excess fabric here. But I think this curve that they have in here is just really well patterned. I love that. I was surprised at how easy it was to use. Now, it opens super wide, and I'm going to flip the bag around. So now you're looking at the top of the bag, front of the bag, bottom of the bag here. Open it up and you can see contrast lining inside, no additional pockets or organization, and it opens up with its own, here look at the side of the bag, like there's a lot of independent leakage here. And it's just great for like dumping stuff in and out. So here I have a face mask here, I've got a screen wiping cloth, I've got some hand lotion, I've got a cat-shaped face towel, a toothbrush, and all that, and then I've got a highlighter, and I think that's everything I have inside of here. And so you can see, well, as best as you can see here, it goes down, quite all the way, really generous. And you can fit some fairly bulky items in here. So as an example, let me take what I have inside here. These are some big headphones. These are some Bang & Olufsen H95s or something like that. You can have them inside of this thing. I'll take them outside of this thing. So you can, these are pretty bulky. You can dump those in there very easily. Something bulky is so hot right now. It pains me even to handle a puffy down layer, but you can easily stuff like a light shell or down layer in the front of there. So all the, and obviously like when you do this, like the interior capacity is still fully usable here. So all the good things that you expect from a front mounted Kangaroo dump pocket are true in this one here. As I mentioned, easy to throw things in there. Now, maybe the only downside of this is that it doesn't have any kind of internal organization. It's unabashedly a simple, dump style pocket here. So like if you have a bunch of small things, like they're gonna get jumbled at the bottom there. Like you can see everything kind of just falls to the bottom. But that's okay, because again, I feel like it opens wide, so it's easy to get in and out and see what you've got in there with the contrast lining. Also, if you have many small delicate things or hard things, you throw them in there together, they're gonna move around and scratch each other. So you gotta be careful, right? So for example, I don't usually throw my phone in here. I also, coincidentally, this is just maybe my comment, I wish that they had put the key leash in here, because this would have been really easy to kind of fish the keys in and out of. It wouldn't then you could put your phone in the quick access pocket, and I feel like it still wouldn't intrude on like the overall usability of this front dump pocket. Overall, I really, really like this front dump pocket. I just think it's a really useful and essential part of what makes this bag simple, but also like very functional. So next, let's talk about the main compartment access here. So this has two, again, standard YKK Evergoods, quality zippers, reverse coil in the Evergoods style. This one generally I found, like you can operate it one-handed, but it sometimes like just, I think because of like the friction of this bigger zipper, depending on how you have the bag loaded out, I usually found it was easier to do it with two hands. That you can definitely, like I said, you can swing the bag around and you can kind of yank it around because the bag's got mass or whatever. But usually it was a two-handed operation. Now, I love the panel loading style of this bag. And you can do, even though it's a panel loader, and again, like if it were a full clamshell, it would go all the way to the bottom of the bag. But because of the panel loader, technically it still has like this much kind of sitting at the bottom that you can't unzip. But I mean, this is the classic panel loading style. But honestly, like it's kind of like a clamshell loader or a clamshell style bag, I found. Like you fillet it open and you could get all in it. There's a little bit of a lip here, but honestly, right? But not only that, I also found that the most common way I would use this pocket is I would kind of half zip it. Like again, the Civic half zip line. Like I would usually just, and you can see how I just literally, I did this a lot too. Like I'll kind of half open it and then I'll just rip it open. Rugged YKK zippers, number 10, so they're not gonna I think these are number 10s. They're not gonna break on you when you do that. I did it all the time. And you've got this half zip style. You can still access the top inner pocket, which we'll talk about here. You can access the inner contents. You can access the laptop and the tablet and all your stuff inside of there. So I found this is a really flexible access style. And just great. I really like the way that this pack accesses and opens. So next, let's talk about the inside of this bag. So again, rip it open. And first, we'll start with the top inner lid pocket. So this is the front of the bag, top of the bag. And if I just peel it open, you can see I have this inner zip pocket. And it uses the same inner lid style pocket that you see in all of the Evergoods bags. Almost all of them, I think, have this. Same high quality interior contrast line that you get in all the Evergoods bags. This one has a little bit of dimension of its own, but it also flexes really well with the unused portion of the front Kangaroo pocket. Like usually you don't have stuff all the way to the top on this front Kangaroo pocket, like you'll have it up to around here. So it actually makes really good usage of like that space here, this normally dead space. And inside of here, I just have a Bellroy Apex wallet, a Bellroy kind of card holder, and then like a coin pouch, and that's it. You could probably fit a little bit more stuff in here. Sometimes I'll put my phone in there. And a very common interaction pattern that I would do, as I mentioned, I have the bag like this, kind of half zip it, and then inside, sorry, do it backwards here, half zip it, and then inside I just open this and I can kind of get in without unzipping the entirety of the bag. And it's still pretty secure, right? So that's why I keep my wallet and stuff in there. Two zippers to get in, but still you can get it quickly. Like if you're at the register, and you go like this, wallet out, pay, put it back in, zip, done. Now, as much as I liked that top inner lid pocket, I cannot say I was as big a fan of the other interior main inner lid pocket, and that is this part here. Now, this part is like it comes from their Civic Access Pouch 1. This is the Cap 1. I haven't reviewed this one. I do have several of these. I use them. I have mixed feelings about them, but you can actually see this exact, pattern here. Maybe the dimensions are slightly different, but like one slightly larger pocket, one single pocket, flat, no dimension, see-through mesh, and a single zip that runs across both pockets with a seam line dividing them that's non-movable is what you see inside of the Civic Access Pouch 1. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this. Like in their video, they show you could throw the Cap 1 in here. You could actually probably throw the Cap 2 in there as well. Anyway, back to here. So you've got this single zipper that runs across there, and then you've got these two flat, no real dimension, no stretch to this mesh. It's the standard robust Evergoods inner mesh here, no flex on there. I honestly found these pockets really tight and small and flat and fussy. and really only good for what I would say would be like small flat items that you rarely need. And that's not a super compelling use case. And I found it particularly a limiting use case in a bag like this that has relatively few pockets or organizational options. If this were a bag that had more like kind of organization and stuff on there, like I think that's where they could have been more experimental with some of them, because I think it still gives you other options to do things. But when you only really have a couple of organizational options, like every one counts. And so I kind of was not feeling this was the most useful. So here's what I've got inside of here. I've got my Playdate by Panic. It's actually kind of a cute little machine. I don't usually play a lot of games, but it is, I found this one kind of endearing. And it actually kind of fits nicely in here. And then in this slightly larger one, I have like Master and Dynamics MW, I always forget which one it is, MW08s, I think, wireless earbuds, and then like just like a spare mask. And sometimes I'll have like other, like a few receipts or something like that. The biggest gripe I have with this is that, well, there's two. One is there's no stretch, so that really limits what you can put in there. Like, I mean, you can't fit things that are too much bulkier than this in there. The fact that these are subdivided is a really weird limitation. Like, you can fit like a bare field notes in here, but like, who carries a bare field notes? Like, I'll show you my notebook here in a second, but like, I don't know, I just wish you could put like I don't know, more stuff in there. And then also the fact that these share a single zipper makes it really annoying to use. I find myself wishing that they would actually just have like a single larger pocket, or like I said, like this would be one compartment or meshy or something like that. Just maybe simpler would have been better in theme with the rest of this bag, in my opinion. Anyway, flipping this over, and we're now looking at the main compartment here. Let me talk about the main compartment, and I'll talk about the back organization here. Now, the main compartment, in there I have these headphones, which I previously showed you. I have a Bellroy note taker just sort of floating around in here. And this is, again, I wish that this one were a little bit bigger, has some mesh, and I could put this in there. But like, unless you're carrying a bare field nose, which wouldn't last very long, it's not gonna fit in there. So I just throw it in the main compartment, but that's okay. And then like a Bellroy pencil case with a bunch of like cables and chargers and stuff like that. And that's really it. There are a couple, look at the bottom of the bag here, front of the bag. There are a couple of like interior organization pockets, which I'll talk about in a moment here. Sorry, let me flip it around. But other than that, you can see it's just a big open cavity, which I really like. You can shove, like a water bottle in here. You can, throw slightly bulkier things in here, like I've already shown you. And what I like is, because you do have that flexibility of using it almost like a half zip, like you can throw a bunch of stuff in there. You can still easily find it and access it. Like the contrast stitching, or contrast color, and like just the very simple capacity of it just makes it easy to get in and out and easy to throw things in there and still find them and access them, even, and also because it's a slightly smaller bag. I did, as I mentioned before, notice that there is a slight kind of like waist to the bag. You can see it kind of like in the middle here. Let me zip this up and I'll show you. You can see it kind of narrows here, and then it gets wider at the bottom. Like this bottom part really kind of, you can see is broader than it is maybe in the middle. So that gives you a little bit more capacity in that bottom, like this kind of goes up a little bit in that bottom non-opening part of it here than you might expect, which is actually really useful. Manages to keep that overall small profile while still, allowing you to fit in just a little bit more than you might expect. That having been said, I think in this main capacity is where you really feel the 20 liters size of this bag, and where, like if you sort of fill it up, you'll really feel like the limitation. It doesn't defy the laws of physics. The final two compartments in this bag are going to be the laptop compartment here, and then the front tablet compartment here. Now, the laptop compartment is on the inside, and usually that's going to be a bit of a problem when you have bags like this. So like, for example, in the Civic half zip line, sometimes the laptop access could be a little bit restricted, especially when the bag was packed up really full, because it's inside, and there's not externally accessible. So you kind of have to like fight and get stuff, push it up, and it would get caught against this top pocket or whatever. But there's actually some clever affordances in here, and an evolution of the design I found versus the Civic half zip line that makes it a little bit easier to use. The first one is, let me get this out of the way here so we can see here. So there is this padded divider here. I mean, the first one, this is the affordance. There is a padded divider here that creates the laptop compartment pocket. I have inside of here a 13-inch MacBook M1 MacBook Air. You could fit a slightly larger laptop in there. You can see there's plenty of space inside of here. It doesn't have, or sorry, it does have a false bottom, pardon me. You can see here, it stops right around here. So it doesn't and it's kind of lifted off the bottom and slightly padded here. So it's really, protect your laptop well. Obviously, if you have a super thick, like Alienware, something like that, even though there is a little bit of flex in there, you might not be able to jam a gigantic thing in here. The affordance that I was referring to is you can actually see that the padded laptop pocket compartment comes all the way up to the top. So what that means is even if the bag is super filled out like this and exerting some amount of pressure on the laptop area, you can actually still just grab the lip because it comes all the way up to the top of this compartment, and that lets you easily slide your laptop in and out. Let me see if I can show it a little bit more here. So even though you got stuff all the way to the top, because this laptop lid is here, it gives you a nice, nice surface to pull it out. And then when you're gonna put it back in, you can just tuck it right behind that, and smooth surface to slide all the way back in. So I really like that. It comes right up to the top here. And you do have this top, inner quick access pocket inside here, but I kind of found that it didn't get caught on that too much, again, because you can kind of pull the laptop, pull the laptop's thing forward, and then it lets you kind of just slide it in and out, in and out. So nice, and that kind of gets around one of the disadvantages that you usually have with a very simple style bag like this, where the laptop compartment's on the inside. Now, the other pocket on the inside here is going to be the tablet pocket, and that's this guy right here. Another example of a thing that's weirdly tight on this bag and small. So inside of here, right now, I have a iPad mini generation 6. As you can see, it fits in here even with the Magic Pencil in there. A little bit of extra space, but you see there's this extra sewn in pen loop thing. And what that means is, if you try to take something bigger, like an iPad Pro or a normal iPad with a type keyboard cover, it does not fit. If you take out this is an 11-inch iPad Pro with the keyboard type cover or whatever. If you take it out of its, its keyboard cover and you just put it in here, I think it'll just barely fit in there. But what kind of a monster carries around a coverless iPad? That's crazy. Don't do that. If you do that, leave me a comment below so I can get you some help. I kind of found that was an odd choice on their part because it really restricts the usability, again, of one of the few compartments you have on this bag, organization you have on this bag. And for what means? Just to have a pen here. I mean, that could go in here, or I'm sure they could have found another place to put it, or maybe you don't even need a dedicated pen slot. A little bit of extra, stretch space in there would have so much more dramatically increased the usability, in my opinion. But overall, despite those couple of small interior, kind of tight spots where I wish there's a little bit more flex or space, I really like this bag. It's got a lot of great properties. It carries really well. It's simple. It's super easy to use, especially the exterior, front Kangaroo pocket, and just the main compartment and the flexibility of the access. And I love this back mesh, and I love the size. And it's just really a great bag if you're looking for a simple, small EDC bag that will serve you really well. So if you're in the market for a bag like this, what are some other bags that you might want to consider? So first and foremost, I would recommend you check out maybe Air. So Air makes a wide variety of packs in this same general style, even next to each other. I think you can see why aesthetically. I think that they're very strong, and material-wise, there are strong similarities to the PLC20, albeit not to the rest of the Evergoods lineup. Same great materials. Really, just almost all their bags are excellent, and they make a wide variety of sizes and functionality, a wide variety of sizes and for different kind of use cases or whatever. This happens to be the City Pack Air City pack, which I've previously reviewed on the channel. I'll leave a link in the description below here. Has a little bit more organization. I think this one is technically rated at 14 liters, although I would say it probably carries as much as this one, which is rated at 20 liters. They just kind of subdivide it over several different compartments here. Has a lot more organization, if we're being honest, but also, like, you know, strong similarities here. Top quick access pocket, an interior kind of laptop compartment in the main compartment. You know, anyway, kind of panel loading style front. Again, slightly more organization than this one. Definitely check out Air if you're looking for good, like, you know, EDC style bag in this kind of general style-y. Another option, if you're looking for a classically styled panel loading bag, is going to be the Bellroy Classic lineup of backpacks. This happens to be the V1 Classic Backpack Plus, which means this is 24 liters. There is also a regular size, which is 20 liters, which is going to be similar rated literage as this one, and then also compact, which is 16. You can already see, this is a slightly older model, but panel loading style, classic. This is a classic, simple backpack. This one has the advantage, I would say, of having the laptop compartment externally accessible. It's going to be a little bit more interior organization, especially on the V2 versions of this, than on the Evergoods version of the bag here. But overall, like, very interesting kind of additional approach to the same general problem space, available in more materials and colorways than this one, obviously. I personally prefer the PLC20 over the Bellroy Classic backpack lineup. This one just feels a little bit more usable and refined to me. And I particularly felt the difference when it came to the load carriage, back mesh material, etc. But still, these are very good bags. And finally, if you want to keep it in the Evergoods family, but you just want a slightly different interpretation of the genre, this is the Civic Half Zip 22, which I have referenced several times throughout this video, which I've also, I believe, done a review of this. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. This is a half zip version, or half zip opening, as opposed to full panel loader style here. And it's going to be slightly higher capacity than this one, although I didn't find them to be so different in practice, to be honest with you. You can already see a lot of like the same, I mean, it's the same company, so you can see a lot of like the same kind of like design cues here. But, you know, for example, you can see the laptop compartment doesn't have that top lip that I showed you here on this one. This flexible top lip. So when this bag gets packed out all the way, it's actually, there's no like foldy lip. Like, it's actually a lot harder to get a laptop in and out. You can see that they don't have, like, for example, a tablet pocket on here. Actually, there's not a ton of extra organization here. There's no, like, you know, front thing here. There is, however, that yoke pocket at the top, vertically oriented, as opposed to horizontally. And there's water bottle pockets, but you do get this nice kind of big central compartment. And unlike this one, this half zip version is going to be much more oriented, or much more useful for kind of outdoors crossover use. I use this bag for day hiking quite a bit. And there's also a 26 liter version of this bag as well. And so really, that is it. If you have any questions about this bag, go ahead and leave those in the comments below, and if I can, I will answer them. And if you have any bags you would like me to review, leave those in the comments below, and if I can, I will review those. Thank you very much. This is, I have to be honest, like, this is probably my single favorite, most liked, most favorite. This is probably my single favorite, that's not correct grammar, Mountain hat-shaped face towel, because it's super hot here. You gotta wipe yourself sometimes, and then that sounded wrong.